Has AMD lied when it comes to CPU performance announcements at AMD's Computex 2024 Keynote and Information recently released? Let's talk a little bit about that. Hi everyone, my name is Brent Justice and welcome to thefpsreview.com. I'm going to talk about something that has come up in the news lately, and it is something that definitely deserves some talking about here. The question we need to ask is, has AMD lied about this performance that they have announced with these new CPUs? I'm going to answer that. But before I get into that, we definitely did cover all of the AMD announcements. We have a video up where we go through the press presentation and talk about all the new announcements, including Zen 5, which are very interesting, so definitely check that out. What has come up, however, has been covered by a few people, and I definitely want to give them a shout out first because I did not discover this issue myself. This issue has been brought up by readers and commenters in videos and has been covered by popular YouTube channels. So, Hardware Unbox has covered this in a Q&A. This is bad. AMD basically lies about CPU performance. June Q&A Part 2 on Hardware Unboxed. Please watch their video and check out what they have to say on this issue. This is actually where I first saw this issue myself. And then we have Daniel Owen, who has also recently put up a new video where he is covering this topic as well. So definitely check out his latest video and read about that as well. So I just wanted to make sure and mention that they have also brought up this topic, but I am also going to talk about it now. As I said, I did not find this out. We typically do not go over the end notes in these presentations when we review this information, and in this one it got by a lot of people. And if you read the end notes from this presentation, there's a little bit there to talk about. So let's quickly go through this. This is the actual, as you can see, pre-show press briefing that all press got before Computex announcement. There's a little bit of performance shown with Zen 5, not a ton, and there's nothing wrong with the Zen 5 performance shown, but the ones that we want to talk about, in this performance here where they show the 5950X against the 14900K, there's an end note for it. Notice this end note, GN404. If you read the specifications on that one, you'll find it fine. And in fact, we can go straight to the end here. Let me pop over to page 47. So for Zen 5, we'll just quickly go over this before we get into the meat of this video. Testing as of May 2024 by AMD Performance Labs on test systems configured as follows. AMD Ryzen 9 5950X system was a Gigabyte X670E Aorus Master on balanced with DDR5 6000 and a Radeon RX 7900XT. And then these were all the things turned on, and it was tested against an i9 14900K with a MSI MEG Z790 Ace Max, also with DDR5 6000. Great. And the same GPU, Radeon RX 7900XTX. Perfect. These systems, comparable. This is great. No problems with this. They show performance from 7% up to 56% based on the application, based on the game. That's going to vary 4 to 23% as well. 9950X versus 14900K. Great. That's how you do it. The problem is when we get to this slide coming up here. So there was the announcement of the new 5900XT, 5800XT. What's interesting about these CPUs, and something that I actually do find interesting, is this movement of the 5900XT up to a 16-core 32-thread CPU. So the 5900X previously was a 12-core CPU, right? So this has been moved up to a 16-core CPU for the T variant. Also, the clock speed is up a little bit as well. Now for the 5800XT, it is still an 8-core as the 5800X is, and the clock speed on it is moved up. That's fine. Like the specs of these CPUs, great and enjoyable. I mean, that's a neat upgrade. This 5900XT is actually interesting to me because that moves it up to a 16-core CPU with a faster clock speed. Great. Nothing wrong with the announcement of the CPUs. Perfectly fine. It's when we get to this slide here, number 20. The AMD Ryzen 9 5900XT, and it is compared against an Intel Core i7-13700K. Now on paper, perfectly fine with that comparison, right? AMD is showing, well, if the 13700K is 100% performance, then the AMD Ryzen 9 5900XT in this game is the same performance. In this game, the same performance. Ooh, in this game, 1% higher, and in this game, 4% higher. So, on paper, you're going to look at that and think, oh, okay, the 5900XT is equivalent performance to a 13700K. That is what we all think and would all assume. Okay, well, however, then let's go see EndNote R5K131, shall we? R5K131 reads as follows. Testing as of April 2024 by AMD Performance Labs. Test system configured as follows. AMD Ryzen 9 5900XT on a Gigabyte X570S Aorus Master motherboard. All right, pretty high-end motherboard, X570, AM4 platform. You know that's going to be running DDR4 because there's no other options, right? Well, look what the Intel system has. Intel system, Intel Core i7-13700K, tested on a Z690. Okay, it's not a 700 series, but it doesn't really matter for that. But here's what does matter for that. The RAM chosen, all system configs, get G.Skill 3200 DDR4. Oof. Oof. But it doesn't stop there. It does not stop there. AMD Radeon RX 6600. That's right, you're reading that correctly. Not a 7900 XTX, not a 7900 XT, not even a Radeon 7000 series at all, and not even a 6800 XT or 6900 XT, not even a 6600 XT or 6650 XT or 6700 XT. No, a 6600 non-XT GPU. Why is all that important? Well, a 13700K, first of all, yes, the Intel platform supports on Z690. Obviously, you can get DDR5 or DDR4. Technically, this is a real-world scenario. This is a real-world test system. That's, you know, debatable. Should they have used a DDR5 platform? The 13700K would have probably performed better with a DDR5 6000 platform rather than 3200 DDR4, but at least you can say, that they've tested with the same memory speed, trying to, you know, take the memory speed out of the equation, trying to get a comparable CPU performance. Like a reviewer could understand that, wanting to balance the memory systems. Yes, one could say the 13700K would get a better performance score with DDR5, and you are not going to get DDR5 out of that 5900XT, so that's just not going to be an option. But then you would be having to say different memory speed here, different memory speed here. So, okay, one could say that's okay. We can accept that the memory speed and memory type is okay. The problem is when you get to this AMD Radeon RX 6600, right? That takes the CPU out of the equation. You are not CPU, quote, bound in this scenario. You are GPU bound, and therefore you are not showing the potential frame rate that each CPU can deliver to that GPU. You're removing that from the talk. You're removing it from the talk, and what you're doing is setting a baseline. You're setting an equilibrium basically between the CPUs because they are so capped by that GPU. So you are, in a way, setting it up so that the performance can only be similar between the CPUs. Let's before we really discuss this, let's go back to this original slide. So that's what they're showing for there. Let's go to the next slide. On this one, they're showing the 5800XT versus the 13600KF. And again, we see the 13600KF at 100%. This 5800XT at 1% higher, 2%, 12% in Cyberpunk though. And so you're thinking, oh, I'm gonna get similar performance to a 13600KF. And even in one game, I'm gonna get 12% more performance, okay? Again, RSK 132 for that end note. So let's go to slide 47. Down here, R5K 132, testing out of April 2024, tested on a Gigabyte X570S. Fine, another high-end, same high-end motherboard. Okay, good, great. But look what they did with this one. The 13600KF was tested on a B660. That's a little different. So you've got a high-end X570 chipset, AM4, tested on a mid-range B660 chipset. They didn't put it on the Z690. They did the 660 on this one. So what does that do for us again? Well, okay, that's a little bit of a lower class. I don't know why you would go down to a B660 here when you tested this one on a 690. Why not just use that same motherboard? But again, DDR4 3200. Okay, as we talked about before, we can kind of say that that might be a viable situation for an owner of a 13600KF, because the kind of money that you would spend on a 13600KF would not necessitate the need for a Z690 or Z790 motherboard. You don't need to spend that kind of money on a motherboard. If you're spending that little on a CPU, you're not going to spend that much on a motherboard. So you could argue a B660 is a great fit for that CPU in the price range. But then you could say that for the 5800XT as well. You could say, why are you using an X570? Wouldn't you use the tier below that on that one also? You could also say the memory speed is okay because you want to keep that the same, and again, remove that as an equation. But then, there it is again. Radeon RX 6600 chosen as the GPU. Like, not even a 7000 series, a 6000 series, but not even a fast 6000 series. The 6600 non-XT, all the way down there in the 6600. So you've done it again. You've stacked the deck in favor of equalizing these two CPUs in performance. You've done that. So that's all you're going to see now in the benchmarks. You're going to see that the CPUs are similar. Why not even just using a 6800XT would show a more difference between the CPUs. It would allow them to deliver a higher frame rate to the GPU. Now let's argue against that, because I would actually like to make a more interesting argument here than is AMD lying, because technically they're not lying. Listen to me very carefully. AMD is not fabricating results. When I see the word lying, I think of fabrication. I think of, they're showing a picture of a couch, but really on the slide there's a refrigerator. It's a lot. That's a lie. I mean, lying would be saying we tested on this system and the real performance in their labs was a frame rate of 60, and they lied and put a frame rate of 30, or they lied and put a different test system than what they tested with in reality. That's a lie. That's a fabrication. They're not lying. They're showing the test system they used, and if they're truthful about that, and they are showing the truthful performance that they tested out of that test system, then it's not a lie. It's not a lie. It's not a, you know what I mean? It's not a lie. They're not lying with the results. They are truly showing that they tested DDR4 3200. They are truthfully showing that they tested with a Radeon RX 6600. And they have that in the notes. Like, the information is there if you go and read it. So you're not being lied to with the results. It's not a lie. It is, however, misleading. And I think really that explains this situation more than saying it's a lie. I wouldn't say that AMD's lying. I think they are trying to stack the deck in their favor on the results. And it is obvious what they are doing is trying to show their part being equal to the competition or better. And so they've stacked that deck in their favor. They've basically set up the test system to do that. It's I mean, that's pretty much it. They've set up the test system in a way that favors them. Any reviewer could also do that same thing. So it's just about, that transparency. How transparent are you with the results? This isn't a fault of the testers and the people at AMD who are putting in the work to do these benchmarks. This is more, I think, a fault of the marketing. They see an opportunity to make their product look better. They maybe should be paying a little more attention and maybe understand that we are a more savvy crowd. The enthusiast crowd is more savvy. They are going to look at these results. They are going to study them. They are going to take these results and compare them to benchmarks that other YouTubers have done and make sure that the performance falls in line with where it should. That is being marketed. But then also us as reviewers are going to do that same thing when we test these things. We are going to also test this hardware, and the truth will get out there. When we test these CPUs, that truth is going to get out there eventually. So why take the risk in the first place, right? Why even take that risk? Because the truth is going to come out one way or the other, what the real performance is when we get it into our hands. So why bother being misleading? I think what would have been a better way to handle this, and this is maybe what should have been done, is put the test system underneath this, right? You've got the 13600KF, 5800. Put under here DDR4 3200, RX 6600, and same here, DDR4 3200 and RX 6600. Put that just those two lines, those two little lines, in a smaller lowercase, smaller font underneath these on these charts. Or the real way to solve it is just don't do that in the first place. Just use the RX 5900XT for both of these comparisons and show the actual real results of what a CPU difference between these two CPUs would be. Well, then you avoid that whole issue altogether, because then you're just really showing what people would consider the right result, using a very high-end fast GPU so that all the frames can be delivered to that GPU, and you see which CPU can deliver the most frames to that GPU. That's really what the enthusiasts and gamers want to see. That's how you do it. And for us at the FPS Review, that's how we will continue to test. We use a 4090, the fastest video card we have at all times in our CPU testing. 4090 will be used, and we will use the same platforms when we can and the same memory speed, DDR5 on both of the CPUs. One thing that we do is we test at all three resolutions. We start at 1080p naturally. We also test 1440p, and we test at 4K. So we always test at all three resolutions because I feel you should put all the data out there for the gamer or end user to make their own decision. Our job is to collect the data and to put it out there, and your job as the consumer or gamer is to understand and take that data and see how that applies to you and determine what is important to you. So we will collect the data, we will put all of the data we can out there, and then you will decide what is relevant to yourself and your needs you'll have that information. So we test at 1080p, 1440p, and 4K when we do CPU testing. And I look forward to testing Zen 5. We're going to get Zen 5. We're going to test it. We're going to do that. It's going to be exciting, and I cannot wait. And I think their Zen 5 results on this stuff is fine. I didn't see any problem with that. I think the way they tested there was fine. I do like the idea of those new CPUs. The 5900XT I think is actually kind of cool. It's just all about how that data was represented there. And I do hope reviewers get those CPUs though, and I do hope that they're tested, because then that's really what you want to rely on. Remember, these are first-party results from AMD. You always want to make sure you check reviewers reviewing this hardware, and multiple reviews at that, to get all the data you can and figure out what is relevant to yourself. So again, let me just end by saying I don't think it's a lie. Not a lie. However, you can argue it's misleading and does stack the deck in their favor based on the way the test systems are set up. So now it is up for you, the consumer, to decide. How do you feel about that? That's a very long-winded look at this whole situation. I know it's been talked about a lot. I wanted to bring it up as well on our channel and talk about it, and just give you my thoughts and opinions. If you want to check out our website, we have a lot of written reviews, thefpsreview.com. We will also have more videos on this channel coming as well. Make sure to stay tuned, and thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Hope you all have a blessed day. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next one.